Good morning again, folks. This is Pappy Two Bears, and we're back again working on our teepee. And as you can see, there's been some changes since my last posting. I've got all the teepee poles in place. They've all been cut to the right length, and I've got them in roughly the positions that they'll need to be once the cover is put in place. If you'll notice, I've got all 12 poles in place. The pole that you see with the flags flying off it up there, that will be what is called the lifting pole. That's what we'll be attaching the teepee cover to put around the framework. So this was all done yesterday, and we're all pretty much prepared. Where we're standing right now is where the doorway is going to be. And I talked about the positioning of the doorway and mentioning to you the fact that for me it's a pragmatic thing because I need to take a look at the direction of the weather patterns. Some people used to apply their doors depending upon what the lodge was used for. For example, if it was a medicine lodge, many times they would have it facing either the east or the west or the south or the north, depending upon what the purpose was of the lodge. But a general purpose lodge was actually faced according to which way the directions of the winds were coming. You obviously don't want the wind blowing in through your front door. Okay, so normally they would have the back of the teepee facing the direction of the winds. The flag marker that you see at the top is an indicator of which direction the winds are, and that helps us adjust the smoke flaps later on so that we don't get smoke back into the teepee. I'll walk you through some of what I'm doing today. I'm getting ready to lay out the pattern that I'll be painting the teepee cover, and we'll talk about that just a little bit, and then I'll have to get busy because it's all weather dependent for me. Everything that I'm doing is outside in a perfect environment. I could be inside a gymnasium someplace and have the teepee stretched out on the floor where we don't have the wind and those sort of things. Okay, but it is what it is. So it's all part of the spiritual experience for me. I do a lot of praying as I'm doing this. So come along with me and I'll show you what I've done so far. Give you an idea of what we had to do in order to set this tripod up. Let's go over to the table for a second. As you can see, it's a tough day for the dogs in the neighborhood. It's a beautiful fall day here, and I'm enjoying it while I can. Now, first off, I mentioned that I had the old tarp teepee and I had to retire it. And let's take a look at the reasons for that. What you're looking at here is actually a photo that I took of when I tried to put the tarp teepee back up this spring. The UVs had broken down the tarp teepee so much that it used to be brown. But you notice all the light colors and stuff, that was all sun fade. And the UV broke down the fibers within the tarp itself, and when I put it up and tried to stake it down, that tear that you see right there is 6 foot long. And a lot of people said, well, duct tape and everything else, and I actually tried that, and because there's another tear on the other side that's a little shorter than that, and that didn't hold up too well. So that was the reason that I retired it. Served me many a years. Now let's take a look at what happens with the and how we put the tripod up. This is a diagram of how the tripod is put in place. If you'll notice, I mentioned that I had to measure out the poles on the new cover, or perhaps I didn't mention that, but this is how it's done. If you look over here at this diagram, this pole is the door pole, and these two poles are the north and south pole, and this is how it's measured, and you get an idea of what your point that you need to tie your poles together. Now generally, even though it shows down here that the pole is equal with the edge of your teepee, what I've done is I have extended these poles 6 inches past so that the edge of the teepee does not come in contact with the ground. When I stake it out, there will be about 6 inches of these poles showing. Now the poles of these three are tied together in this manner right here. And this is a perfect knot. It just cinches right up nice and tight. And then once you've wrapped that about 4 times, now you've got a good secure knot so that when you open up your tripod, as you see over here, it's good and sturdy. Now just those 3 right there, once you get those in place and secured and in their positions, you can actually, a full-grown man can hang right off that rope right there, and it is just sturdy as all get out. Now, the rest of the poles are added around there until you get the number of poles that you need for the size of teepee that you have. In my case, I have a 12-foot teepee, and so in that 12-foot teepee, I have a total of 14 poles. 12 that go around the teepee itself, and then 2 more poles that will be for the smoke flaps. Now what we're doing today, and as I said, I'm doing a lot of praying about this, is I'm actually laying out the pattern that I'll be painting on this teepee. Now as you can see, I've got the cover laid out on the lawn here. Now this is just a 12-foot teepee. Now imagine the size and of the space that you would need for a 24-foot teepee, one that's twice this size. So part of the praying process that I did this morning is I prayed that it wouldn't rain, and it's not going to today. It's going to tonight. I also prayed that the lawn wouldn't be too dirty. I did a lot of praying that the dogs wouldn't walk on this while I'm trying to work on it. So let me show you what I've done so far and some of the things that you'll need to keep in mind if you decide that you want to partake on this project yourself. The teepee, I've got it staked out, as you can see, in places so that the wind doesn't catch it, and it takes some of the wrinkles out of the teepee. And what I'm doing now is I'm laying out the pattern that I'm going to be painting on this cover, and then I'll be able to get that done today, I hope, and then get it folded back up, swept off and folded back up and put away before the rains come in. And then on a couple of good non-rainy days, I can get it painted. When you're going to, if you're going to decorate a liner like this, or a cover like this, you need to make sure that you're on the right side that you're going to be painting. If you'll notice, I'm going to come down close here, and you can see that the seams are such that when the teepee is erected, the water will run down over the seams. All right, so make sure that you're not painting on the inside of your teepee unless you're doing interior decorating. And what I've done, you can see the line. And what I've done is I've made a mark by measuring from the bottom of the teepee skirt up to the distance that I want to go for that solid color. Above that, I'm going to have another line. And then when I come up to the top to do the decoration on the top, I'll measure from the top the same way, so that all of the, there will be some symmetry in what it is that I'm going to be doing. Now the paintings of a teepee, or the markings on a teepee, had an awful lot to do with who was living in the teepee. This 12-foot teepee here was actually considered a 2-person lodge. 2 people can sleep in this pretty comfortably and still have a fire inside it. The larger lodges were you know, substantially bigger to accommodate more people inside. Now, if you look at this, this is canvas. This is 15-ounce canvas. It's not weather treated to be waterproof or anything of that nature. So that's going to be another step that I'll have to do after the painting process. And that can actually be done after the teepee is erected and staked down and everything. Okay, so we'll probably cover that at some point in the future. If you see the size of this, then you get an appreciation of the work that it took for the Plains Indians in the days before they received this cloth that we use now for the teepees. They made these lodges out of animal skins. How many animal skins would it take to be sewn together in order to make a teepee lodge to accommodate a family? That is a lot of intensive work. Traditionally, the lodges were sewn together by the women. They did all the preparation of the hides, the scraping, the tanning, everything, and then sewed them together. And it's often been said that you stay on the good side of the one that does the sewing. A lot of the Plains Indians, the lodge belonged to the women. It was theirs. So they had everything to say about how it was decorated inside and all of those sort of things. But just the sheer amount of intensive work and labor that was required. And so that was why it was so important to them that they not only maintain it well, but that they put their prayers in when they did it, so that it would protect the family, offer shelter, and also give respect to the animals that gave of themselves, that they might have shelter. Oh, don't mind the shaking, it's just a little cool out here today. So what I'm doing here is I've got a couple of items that you see down here. As you can see, I'm measuring it for this particular pattern. I am measuring 24 inches up from the bottom, making a mark, and then actually just making an outline around where that band is going to go. There will be other decorations within that. I'll do the same thing for a subsequent mark above it for another band, and then from the top I'll do the same thing down and make that. Now, what is it that I'm going to be putting on there? Well, come on over, walk back over to the table, and I'll show you the pattern that I've decided on and what that pattern means to me. I'm hoping you can all see this well. This is actually a color pattern of what the teepee hopefully will look like when I'm done. What I showed you that I'm laying out on the bottom is this bottom skirt design, which is going to be black with blue circles in it. This design is actually a traditional design that's called Big Lakes. And that was chosen because I am from the Great Lakes region in the northern United States, upstate New York to be specific. So you have Lake Ontario and Lake Erie and Lake Huron and Lake Superior and all the big lakes up there. At the top, this design is called Many Spirits. And this also will be painted black. And these white circles that you see in there will remain unpainted. Okay, and this is for the this is just basically sky spirits. Now at night, when there's a fire inside of this teepee, the actual light from the fire you'll see would be able to come in this area here. It will also show up here, so that these are not only spirits of the daytime, they can be spirits of the nighttime as well. You'll notice there's a blue stripe here, and there's a blue stripe that runs down the front. Okay, this blue stripe signifies the spirit world, and this blue stripe that you see running up the front where the pins are going to lace together and where the door is called the spirit path. So basically what this is saying is that the owner of this lodge, myself, okay, is from the Big Lakes region, who is following a spiritual path, seeking the help of the spirit helpers. Perhaps at some point in the future, I may put something else here on the liner. I'm not exactly sure. It'll come to me. It'll come with guidance, I'm sure. So when it's all done, we'll get a chance to see it, we hope. But like I mentioned before, it's all weather dependent. I'm doing this outside. I'm doing this in such a way that I'm taking my time with it. So the weather forecast doesn't look hopeful for the next coming week. So I may have to have a slight break, if you will, in posting the next video. So until that time, I've got to get busy here today. It's already starting to cloud up, as you can see. And the wind direction is going to be bringing in the rains pretty soon. So I do have to get busy and get the design laid out and then get the cover put up. So that's where we are so far. I thank you for coming along with me on this journey. And if you want to see what's happening on the next step, by all means, go ahead and hit the subscribe button down there, hit the notification. I'll let you know when we're going to do the next one. I'm walking and I'm praying that I can get it done today. Thank you for taking an interest in this. I appreciate you walking along with me. I'm Pappy Two Bears, and I'll see you again.